based on the identical Japanese light novel series by Carlo Zen, with illustrations by Sobin. The science fiction war One Yakitori, Soldiers of Misfortune, is available on Netflix. An army of human warriors battling for the Trade Federation against the people of the planet Barka is the focus of the action anime. There are two timelines for the story. The other is told through flashbacks that show the recruiting and training of these warriors, while the first covers the current events in Barka. We have information regarding Yakitori, Soldiers of Misfortune Season 1's conclusion if you're interested. Spoilers ahead. Yakitori, Soldiers of Misfortune Season 1 recap. The Pan-Star System Trade Federation, or the Trade Federation for short, was an intergalactic civilization composed of several different anthropomorphic alien species that arrived on Earth a few decades before the present timeline. They swiftly demonstrated in a violent manner how far ahead of humanity they were technologically and militarily. Humanity lost its independence as a result of its inability to resist the Trade Federation's power in what would become known as the Great Collapse. The aliens' invasion destroyed the pre-existing social order, transforming Earth into a vast third-world nation whose main exports were humans for use as food and soldiers. The action starts on Barka, where the locals attack a Trade Federation camp. The view changes from the human defenders to the rat and mouse attackers. Human soldiers are referred to as Yakitori by the Trade Federation, which is the Japanese word for grilled chicken that is typically eaten on a skewer. Since the majority of soldiers were Americans and Thanksgiving being a significant holiday in the US, the term humans was first used to refer to them. The US president used to pardon one turkey each year. To emphasize a point, the soldiers gave themselves that name. After showing mercy to the turkeys, they were put to death. The human soldiers believed their predicament to be identical. Injured orbital foot soldiers have occasionally been burned while making their way back to the ground. The burnt bodies were given the nickname Yakitori by someone, and it stuck. Later, it was transformed into Sri Lankan, the Trade Federation's common language. The Yakitori troops are a member of the Instant Squads, which are essentially mercenaries who are typically utilized as a front for the Trade Federation's genuine military. Basha Pupkin recruits troublesome Japanese teenager Akira Ihatsu to join Unit K-321 along with Americans Tyrone Baxter, Erland Martonen, Amelia Schulz, and Xian Yan. The story alternates between the group's training on Mars in the past and the deteriorating scenario they are currently facing on Barka. Akira and his crew see the alien planet's significant lack of defense fortification as soon as they land there, which they chalk up to overconfidence. They accurately predict a metaphorical storm is developing since they can tell the locals despise the Trade Federation. While the other instance landed to the planet dressed in ceremonial garb, Pupkin, whom they refer to as the cook, assumed the same and supplied them with weapons. Various species appear to be in charge of various facets of the Trade Federation. For instance, the cats are in charge of diplomacy, and probably even politics, whereas the dogs are in control of the military. The Trade Federation has dispatched a special envoy to Barka to discuss a new agreement with the planet's leadership. Barka, like every other planet governed by the Trade Federation, is heavily reliant on technology developed by extraterrestrial civilizations. The new agreement will enforce conditions such as the locals losing their independence and the Trade Federation sending its credit repossession fleet. If the interest rate surpasses 7%, and the Barkans can no longer afford the payment if the money is mysteriously delayed. Unrest is growing among the people as a result of their understandable opposition to their government accepting such a terrible deal. When the attack starts that night, Unit K-321 and other Trade Federation military personnel learn that their adversaries were Trade Federation soldiers up until that point. Unit K-321 is accused of genocide in the season finale, despite performing brilliantly on the battlefield, which forces Pupkin to devise a novel strategy to defend his soldiers. Yakitori, Soldiers of Misfortune Season 1 ending. Does Unit K-321 leave Barka? Despite being the show's protagonists, Akira and his 4 teammates aren't always the forces of good. They successfully struggle for an imperialistic capitalist civilization, a science fiction East India company. The native Barkans, who are battling for freedom in future generations, are a positive example. However, the Trade Federation views the Yakitori warriors as nothing more than pieces of military hardware, and this is how they are employed. They come from a defeated race. Akira and the others are ultimately victims despite some of their actions. Unit K-321 proves itself in the conflict with the aid of Admin AI, a battle assistance artificial intelligence, and gains the admiration of the Marine commander, Officer Rimmel. They ask for orbital bombardment, which stuns Rimmel in the face of an overwhelming number of adversaries. Rimmel questions this choice, but Akira responds that his unit has a right to ask for help. Thus, Rimmel grudgingly issues the order. The Trade Federation then assaults Barka from orbit, leaving it in utter destruction as hellfire pours down from the sky. Rimmel and his Marines later rescue Unit K-321 from the remaining Barkan forces, but once they get to the fleet in orbit, they throw the humans over to the cats. Why does Unit K-321 face trial? Are they found guilty? The humans feel deceived after Akira and his allies are delivered to the cats to stand trial for killing the Barkans. They had to clean up a mess that the Trade Federation left behind after being abruptly assigned to the planet. Unit K-321 didn't request the orbital bombardment until they were up against overwhelming odds. They really had no other alternative, even not foreseeing the death and destruction it would bring. Akira fears that their recruiter will also betray them when Pumpkin testifies for the prosecution. Unit K-321 is actually represented by a private attorney who demonstrates that the Yakitori soldiers are his equipment, highlighting the idea that a piece of equipment can't be held responsible for any atrocities it was used to commit. Pumpkin previously made a deal with the Marines and the Trade Federation Barkan district. The trial's main goal was to have Unit K-321 members on the defensive for what occurred on Barka. The lawyer for Unit K-321 uses the aforementioned line of defense to put the responsibility back on the Trade Federation's top brass, notably the Foreign Affairs clan, forcing them to release the Yakitori soldiers. What is Program Mariana? Unit K-321's training on Mars is related to Program Mariana. Compared to other species, humans have suffered a disproportionately high number of losses in the Trade Federation battles. Pumpkin came to the conclusion that the instruction they were receiving through implants was to blame. Although it might be appropriate for other animals, it is becoming more and more clear that humans are not a good fit for that technology. Akira and the other four served as the first test subjects for Pumpkin's plan to train humans using methods that have been practiced on Earth for thousands of years. Under the watchful eye of drill instructor John Doe, they underwent conventional military training. Members of Unit K-321 undergo their final test in a simulation that makes them feel as though they are being dropped from an enemy orbit. They are informed that the other team members have died, but they refuse to believe it. They show excellent trust in their comrades, ace the exam, and end up being the only people to survive the program Mariana. Their sole implant was for a Sri Lankan, due to the fact that they never received any training on the Trade Federation military's rules of engagement. This also helps them defend themselves during the trial. Unit K-321 is transported back to Mars after being set free to finish the necessary training so they can join the Trade Federation military as of right. Unit K-321 returns to Barka towards the end of the series to save an ambassador and her family. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.